Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Life After D podcast. It's April 13th, and for some of us, it's the end of spring break, and we're back. We're back in uh, the office mode. Emily, how was
Yep.
your spring break?
Yeah, I mean, I worked most of it, but I did take a few days off to spend with my kids and go camping and do some stuff. So it was nice. Nice. I ready for summer break.
So, since we're on the topic of divorce and child custody, how does this work? Like the vacations, are they like preemptively negotiated? How does this work? Like, what have you seen lately? I don't know if COVID has anything to do with it, or people moving a lot. So what's going on? Like the latest you've heard?
Well, there's usually, it's part of the custody order, and breaks will be split or alternated each year. So people split spring break in the middle, or they switch off each year who has it. Um, if there's no order, then yeah, it can be chaos and there can be fighting about it. But usually, yeah, it's there. It's part of the order.
Okay. Well, it's good because like I know some parents are like, there's just also this thing where kids are going back to school. The children's schools are starting up, and I've talked to a couple parents where they're like, oh, I'm keeping them at home to do the Zoom school thing, and then some are just like, I got to get them out of the house, and they justify it by saying like, I want my kid to have a normal childhood. And so it's like, it's split there too, right? And so who makes that decision? Like, does a person, like which parent, or like, you kind of have to work it out, or how does this all play out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, pretty much each parent gets to do what they want on their own time, as long as you're not violating CDC guidelines and things like that. So if you are, you know, choosing to be more outside or choosing to fully quarantine, that's really the parent's choice. The court's not going to push parents one way or the other. The court really doesn't want to make these decisions for parents unless it has to.
Okay, so let's get into the part of the news, the divorce news, which we find on Google, see what's trending, and let's see what we have today. Oh man, it's all Kanye West and Kim Kardashian's divorce. Something must have happened.
Still, oh,
Let's see. Okay, let's go to our favorite source here, TMZ. So Kanye West asks for joint custody in divorce, answers Kim's petition. Kanye West filed his answer to Kim Kardashian's divorce petition, and it's basically a mirror image of his estranged wife's legal docs. Kanye is also asking for joint legal and physical custody of the couple's 4 kids, just like Kim. FYI, joint custody doesn't automatically mean a 50-50 split, and it's likely Kim will have the kids the lion's share of the time. They will almost certainly work out an arrangement between themselves and have it approved by the court. They have both committed to co-parenting. Kanye, as well as Kim, wants to shut the door on spousal support. Well, they can afford to fend on their own. He also says they should also pay their own legal fees. As we already reported, Kim and Kanye have a prenup, so there shouldn't be a big issue with dividing assets. It's interesting. Ye's answer comes on the heels of Forbes reporting Kim has now reached billionaire status. Kim filed for divorce on February 19th, so Kanye's a little late in filing his answer, although it doesn't really matter because it won't trigger any sort of problems. So let's see. Last thing, our sources say Kim and Kanye hardly spoke in a few months for seeing the divorce petition, but it seems things are getting calmer now. The likelihood is they will work everything out privately with the lawyers and business managers and file the settlement agreement when the ink is dry.
wow. Well, in those kind of cases, it probably makes sense to waive spousal support because both of those people can support themselves, and neither needs the other spouse to support them. And as much as they can work out outside of court, the better. It goes faster. It's more able to be, what they want, and what, they can craft their own agreements and their own custody. And sometimes even in the really, really expensive cases and wealthy cases, it works out to just make your own agreement.
So I think the issues were the legal fees and then the spouse support. Usually, like one party would pay for all the legal fees, right? Because you would, some couples share bank accounts, right?
Right. Well, in that situation, I guess you're both paying for it because you share the bank account still. So it may be both your money. Usually one person doesn't pay all the legal fees, but the higher earner would contribute significantly to the lower earner's fees. So in, that situation, whichever one makes more might have to pay some of the other's fees. But they both make so much money that they probably don't need that help.
Yeah, it's pennies.
Yeah, for them, yeah.
All right. Speaking of lawyers, this is an interesting one. So this is a repeat topic, just like Kim and Kayne was. So Erica Jane breaks her silence on divorce drama and her husband's legal battles in new Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer. Oh, this is it's gonna get you to watch it. Okay, so Erica Jane divorce is a focus on the new Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer. She split from famed lawyer Tom Girardi shortly before Girardi's legal battles became public. Jane insists to her castmates in the trailer that she didn't know about the lawsuits beforehand. So Jane's name has been in the headlines for months after she divorced Tom Girardi after 21 years of marriage in November. Shortly after, Girardi, a famed lawyer, was accused of embezzling money from the widows and orphans of plane crash victims to fund his lavish lifestyle. In the trailer, Jane is telling her fellow castmates that she thought she was going to hold that man's hand until he died, seemingly referring to Girardi. She also insists that she didn't know about the lawsuits before filing for divorce. Orphans and widows, it makes you feel sick, Dorrit Kemsley proclaims during a dinner party directly referencing the lawsuit. So they ask her about it. So the issue here is that, so news of the lawsuit broke in early December after class action law from Edelson PC alleged that the couple's divorce was a sham and that they were using it to hide money that was meant for families of the victims of the Lion Air Flight 610 accident. The new Boeing 737 MAX plane crashed into the Java Sea 13 minutes after taking off from the Soekarno-Hatta International Airport in Jakarta, Indonesia, killing all 189 passengers and crew aboard. Girardi's law firm, Girardi Keith, represented the families of multiple victims. In December, Girardi was held in civil contempt because he couldn't explain to a judge what happened to the $2 million meant for the victim's family. We've heard this this case before. So there's an issue where the divorce could have been just, like they said, a sham, right? So do we really know? Like, because the legal, whether it's divorce or the legal system, I don't think it allows us to really have a definitive answer, right?
No, we probably wouldn't ever really know that. And unless one party's alleging it and trying to prove it, we're still not going to know because the court doesn't independently investigate. So somebody would have to be making that claim and trying to prove it and spending the resources and, all that time and energy trying to prove it for that to even come to light, and still would be very hard to prove.
Okay. St. George. Okay. I didn't know. St. George, Utah.com. So This article is 7 tips can help establish smooth transitions after divorce. Let's see. Okay, so these sound pretty logical, but some people, I guess, don't have common sense that they have to write this. So first one is select a set pickup time and return time. Choose a pickup location. Ease children's feelings of guilt and stress. Get to know your children's friends. Involve non-residential parents. Get involved in children's school activities. Establish regular household routines. And it sounds like my house with to do chores. So yeah, that's it. So what do you think?
Well, yeah, I know sounds like my house too. I mean, I think establishing routines is important. I know it's hard to say because everybody does things so differently. And I feel like with COVID, all routines sort of changed or went out the window. And now I think that it's so hard to know what's like right and wrong to do because, everybody was like, oh, kids shouldn't watch too much iPad. And now everybody's like screen time because it's the only way you can get anything done. So it's tough. But I do think in general, routines and chores and things are good and teach, responsibility and teach people to like I think people naturally like rules and boundaries, even though we fight against them all the time. I think they're actually really healthy. And people crave them, even though they don't realize it. So, I think it's like everything in moderation.
Okay, so let's get to the part of the show where it's called Ask Emily. We go online, we see what posts are people are asking for advice, whether they're starting the divorce journey, whether they're starting, custody battles in court, spouse support. So people have questions. Let's see what they're asking. All right. So this one is kind of I guess dating. It says here, my ex wants to take me on a date. My ex, whom I made the mistake of unblocking, wants to take me on a date. A little background: we were married over 25 years. He cheated repeatedly with the same woman. For years, I found out later I had enough and finally filed for divorce. Divorce is final, which was months ago, and now he wants to try to make amends. He's unbelievable. I'm not even considering it. Where the hell did he get off wanting to take me out when he never wanted to take me out when we were married? Yeah, I just wanted to vent. Says here they don't need advice, but let's give it to her anyway.
Well, like I think sometimes venting is really important, and sometimes if you think there's something that can be saved there, it's worth giving it that shot. But you're right, sometimes people don't change and it's too little too late. And I think it just really depends on the person. Obviously, if she's venting online, she's got anger, frustration about it, and there's unresolved emotions that have to be dealt with. So if anything, maybe she should talk to him to just get closure.
Yeah, it makes sense. The next one is getting started one. Should I tell my husband I filed for divorce yesterday, or surprise him with the news when he gets the papers from the constable? How should I go about informing him? So far, the only person that knows I filed is my therapist.
Well, I think it's always nice to give them warning, but it depends on the situation. Sometimes that's good because it keeps it more amicable. Sometimes it's bad because it makes them angry and dodge being served. So you have to assess the situation and their personality to determine if you should tell them in advance or not. And then, if you're talking, I would tell them if you're not really on speaking terms and you're just texting or emailing, then tell them that way.
So, yeah, so if you serve someone, like you have to physically serve them like an actual paper. What if they like dodge it? What if they're like nowadays, like there's no people aren't in offices and they could probably
Right.
hide. Could they? So how does that work? Like a dodger?
Well, when people dodge service, we have to just do our best to find them. I mean, I've had cases where we've had to hire private investigators to find people, and you know, search everywhere they could possibly be, do background checks. It's hard. There are other options if you really can't find them, like substituted service or service by publication in like a newspaper, but those are like last resorts. The court will really push you to go to the best efforts that you can to find them, so they have notice of their case.
We'll find you one way or another.
Exactly.
Go find you at the gym or something.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right. This one's a getting started one. Another one. So for the divorce process, I was wondering, what point of the divorce process did you split your money and bank accounts? What is it all after the papers are finalized, or when you decided to separate?
Well, you can do it either way. People do it both ways. A lot of people do it at the beginning when they decide to separate because it's easier. But sometimes the finances are too entangled and it's too hard and complicated. So they wait till the end of the case. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to divide things. So you have to wait till the end of the case. That's really an individual decision. There's no set way to do it.
Okay, is our last post of the day. It's a question on filing for divorce if you have kids with someone other than your spouse. My husband and I have been separated for 13 years. We have one child together, and he pays child support for her and sees her every weekend. In the last 13 years, I had 4 other kids with my ex-boyfriend. 3 of them have had paternity tests done showing that they are not my husband's children. My ex-boyfriend has a court order to pay child support for those 3 kids and sees them on weekends. My husband and I just want our divorce over with. We agree on everything and have no asset to split. So we want to file the dissolution. This one's in Ohio. My question is, do I need to get a paternity test done before I file for dissolution for my youngest child? No one pays child support for him, and there's been no paternity test established.
Well, that's a good question. Well, again, I can only answer for California. You only do the paternity test if someone's contesting paternity. So if the husband is stating that that child's his and he's going to pay child support for that child and act as if the child is his, then you don't need one. But if both men are saying, oh, we might not be the father, and she doesn't know who the father is, and nobody can agree, then yes, a paternity test would have to be done.
Okay, so that's all the time we have. I know the tax deadline got moved back. I'm not sure, but and maybe it affects divorce and stuff. I don't know what else is coming up on the calendar.
It does affect divorce. Everybody's trying to scramble to file their taxes and trying to figure out, do they file jointly or separately? So, that's definitely an issue. And then just schools starting back up, and people have been kind of fighting over, are their kids going back in person or not? So we're dealing with a lot of those issues too.
Yeah, maybe the kids out of the house save some marriages. We'll see. I don't know.
It could.
All right. So with that said, we'll see everyone next week on the Life After D podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.